Hi and welcome to the channel. I want to talk about my recent accident that ended up me having a hip replacement. Usually people have hip replacements when they're in their 70s, and that's because over time the hip joint, those are the two connecting points from our legs to the upper body, and they hold all the weight of the body, and eventually with all the movements and over time they end up getting damaged and used up. These artificial hip joints, they are designed to withstand the weight and all the friction and everything, but of course they're made of titanium and metal and various things like ceramics, so they have a shelf life, and after a while they get used up. The shelf life or the functional life of a joint is about 15 years. In my case, in 15 years I will be 65, so at the age of 65 I will have to have a revision hip replacement which would last another 15 years. So then at the age of 80, if I'm still alive, I would have to have another one. I don't really honestly want to live to 80 to experience two hip replacements, because the hip joints aren't that great in the way they're manufactured, and hopefully over time they might bring in some new materials that can last, so maybe the next revision might be longer than 15 years. Anyhow, I thought I should make this video for those of you who are either thinking of going through a hip replacement or have one booked in, or God forbid had an accident and need a hip replacement. So I was having a very good time skiing and
My Eltern. See you later.
I fell, and I thought I had just broken my leg, but it turned out that I had broken my hip joint, and they said it was in a very bad shape and they could not repair it, because if they repaired it, it would basically in a year it would fall apart. So the solution was to get a prosthetic hip. I had my surgery done in Italy, and the experience was a very strange one, because I was in a government hospital where the waiting list was very long, and it was in a small town because that was the closest one to the ski resort. And unfortunately, because of the long waiting list and everything, I chose to move to a bigger city, to a private hospital. But the government hospital had very good staff. The doctors were a bit arrogant and rude, but generally they were there, and if you asked for a doctor, they would turn up. The nurses were very good and caring. Most of them spoke some English. The staff that came and cleaned you and washed you and did things and food, everything was fine. And then I moved to a private hospital in Bologna and paid, I think it was roughly around 25,000 euros for the whole week and a half of hospital stay and surgery and everything. And it was awful, because only one nurse spoke English. No one, no one spoke English. And it was awful, because I would ring the bell, they wouldn't turn up, first of all. And when they did, they would turn up and I would say, I'm in severe pain. And they would they didn't know the word pain. I'm like, how could you be working in the medical field and you don't know the word pain? I was very furious and angry, but there was nothing I could do, because I could not move. It was excruciatingly painful. Now, if you're going for an elective surgery, which means that you didn't have an accident, it was just that you needed a surgery, I guess you'd go to the hospital. You'd not be in pain, you'd just be in preparation for the surgery, and you'd wait. And once you had the surgery, you would just be going into rehab. Of course, there'll be some pain of the surgical incision, the cut and everything, but it wouldn't be so bad. In my case, because I had a trauma, there was a lot of pain and injury inside the tissues and the muscles. So I was in severe pain. I could not even move a centimeter, and it was unbearable. In the UK, they give you morphine when you're in that kind of a situation. In Italy, they just kept giving me paracetamol and ibuprofen, and I was in severe pain. So I didn't really have much choice. I was stuck and I wanted to get the surgery done, so I had it done. if you're having one of these major surgeries, I would recommend having it done near home, near your friends and family, so people can look after you, and definitely somewhere where you speak the language, because it could be a massive problem. Because sometimes I wanted to say I want to go to the toilet, or if I wanted to have my, I don't know, the pee bag where they attach a catheter and it's full and you want to have it removed. It was just like endless amounts of issues that I had. And I was very lucky that my nephew was with me, and he's Italian, so he spoke Italian, and he spent a lot of time in the hospital with me. He's pretty much slept on the bed next to me because we had a private room, and because of him I managed to survive those 10 days. The only person I think that spoke English was a physiotherapist, and he was really nice. I think I still remember the kind of advice and things he gave me and what he taught me, and I think because of him I was able to get back on my feet and walk again, because unfortunately the doctors were very useless. The surgeon saw me just before surgery, and when I went into the theatre, the anaesthetist did not speak any English, so there was someone else who was doing the translation. And I told them that, look, I don't want to, because they said we'll do it under local anesthesia, like a spinal, so where you basically numb the lower half of your body. And I was like, I'm a doctor, I know exactly what you're going to do, and I don't think I will be comfortable, because I will wake up and I will feel it, because I will know exactly what's going on. And they said, okay, we'll put you to sleep. And they did put me to sleep, but they didn't give me a general anesthetic for whatever reason, which is fine. But they gave me a local, which was good, because it lasted for I think 6 hours after the surgery. So I was completely numb and there was no pain. So I think in a way that was good. Overall, I think that first of all, anyone who's going skiing, please go and exercise at the gym, get your legs strong, because if you lack certain skills, you will compensate it with muscle power. My biggest mistake was I don't do any exercise, and I went from nothing to a very intense extreme sport. And I think if I had strong muscles, I probably would have been able to slow down or stop, or even when I fell, I could have controlled my fall. And because my nephew was with me and he fell exactly the same way in the same place, actually he was ahead of me and going faster, and he landed even, I think, 5 to 10 meters further than me, and he was okay because he's very strong. And I think that if you're going to do any extreme sports, it would be wise to spend at least 3 months in the gym preparing, getting your body ready. So let's talk a little bit about the post-surgical experience and what I had to deal with after surgery. So the first, I would say, 5 days after surgery were extremely painful, because as I said, I had trauma before. So it wasn't just the surgical pain that I was feeling, I was also suffering from the previous tissue injury and trauma. And then, of course, they have to cut up the side of your leg, and they have to cut through muscles to put this joint in. So overall, it was extremely painful for 5-6 days, like really, really severely painful. At night, I couldn't sleep, and they wouldn't give you sleeping pills. So it was really tough. And as I said, they don't give you morphine in some countries, so it was impossible to tolerate that pain, which made life really quite worse than it should have been. I was on 2 crutches for 21 days, because the doctor said you should have 2 crutches for 21 days and then 1 crutch for another 21 days, and then you can start walking normally. But they tell you a lot of things that you should do, but if you have a lot of pain, you cannot do those things because your body prevents you. So pain management in the UK is a very strong thing, but I guess in Italy it wasn't. And in the UK they give you painkillers and prepare you so your body is not suffering when you're doing physiotherapy. Unfortunately, I had to pack and I had to move my whole house to another country, and I had finite amount of time. So I didn't really have a lot of time to do physiotherapy. I did a little bit, and then I started focusing on packing, and I thought, well, if I'm doing all this work, then in a way I'm exercising. But I don't think it really helped, because even though I was doing a lot of other type of work, it wasn't specifically working on my leg to build the strength that I needed for the muscles to basically grip the joint and hold it in place. Luckily, I've had no complications or problems, but they tell you that in the first 3 months there's a risk of dislocation, and that's because the muscles around the joint are not strong enough and tight enough to hold it together. Once that's back into its normal form, I assume it gets better. Following a hip replacement, it's advisable to stay on the ground floor. My bedroom was on the first floor, and it was really hard because I had to use crutches to go up and down, and it was painful and hard, but I tried to minimize it as much as possible, so I would only go down once or twice a day when I really needed to. Otherwise I would stay in one place. It's also advisable to have some sort of help and support. I lived on my own, so while my nephew, who is also like my son, so I'm really grateful to him that he spent a lot of his time and came over and stayed with me. But he really helped me. If I had to do everything on my own, I think it would have taken much longer. In general, you don't feel the pain of that joint itself. It's very bizarre, but I can sometimes feel that there is something foreign inside my leg, and I can feel where the prosthetic spike is inside my bone. So that they drill a hole in the bone and put the spike in it, and the other side is a ball that goes into the socket of the joint. It's not painful, it's just weird, because sometimes when I'm asleep or going to sleep at night, or I wake up in the middle of the night, when all my senses are sort of calm, my eyes are closed and it's very quiet, then I think our brain is more sensitive to other things, and then I can feel that there is something in my leg. The muscles are now becoming stronger. The scar tissue around the incision is kind of fading and healing, and the skin is becoming softer. So when they cut the tissue, all the layers of the skin kind of become compressed and kind of become joined to each other. And over time, as it heals, those layers detach, and then you have the superficial skin, the deep skin, the muscles. So instead of having all clumped together, they end up becoming separate. So you can feel there's more flexibility and movement within that area, which is really good. So yeah, I thought I should share a little bit of my experience with this hip replacement. If you have any questions, by all means, put them in the comments below, and once I have enough questions, I can make another video and answer any questions that you may have, because throughout this experience and this suffering, there were so many things that I kept thinking of, and I thought I should share this with other people who are going to have this surgery, but then I didn't write them down and I kind of forgot. And now when I'm making this video, it's September, and the surgery was on the 15th of March, so it's been quite a long time, and I don't remember all the various things that happened along the way. Thanks for watching. Until the next one.